Welcome back to my channel. I'm Maggie Ostara, and I'm delighted that you're here. And this is the transit report for Wednesday, June 19th. And we're heading into the solstice, which we will talk about a bit today. I talked about it a lot in the major themes video that I released at the beginning of the month. So go and check that out if you haven't already, or if you haven't seen it for a while. And we'll go ahead and dive in. So on the 19th, the sun is going to move into the gate 15, which is a beautiful energy. So the gate 15 is on the G center, which if it's defined in your chart, it'll be yellow, and it's yellow here on this chart, as you can see. And it's known as extremes in traditional human design and compassion in quantum human design. And it's also known as the love of humanity, which is just awesome because every one of the gates on the G center is a love gate, right? Because it's part of the heart. This is our heart. And so the 15 is in the logic circuit, and it is collective circuitry, and it has a lot to do with rhythm because it's part of the channel of rhythm. We talked about that in the last transit because we had the gate 5 lit up, which is the gate of rhythm. So this is the 15 is the mate of the gate 5. And so the 15 is really, it is about extremes in the sense that right now, this is what the sun is lighting up here at the most extreme time of year in the living world, which is the solstices, right? Whether you're in the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere or the winter solstice in the summer hemisphere. It is an apex where we get the absolute longest day or the absolute longest night, and then it starts to change. So that's an example of extremes that the 15 is lighting up, and that is really showing us what's going on in the living world. And it's also known as compassion and this love of humanity. So this is a really great time for you to be fostering your compassion. And some people think that compassion is the same as empathy, and also that compassion kind of requires you to go to where people are. So if you are with someone who's really suffering, and the idea that compassion means that you have to kind of take on that person's suffering, that is not what compassion is. Compassion is about being able to stay in your own center, to stay grounded in your own sense of self, but to allow your heart to open, right? The 15's on the heart, allow your heart to open so that you can relate to things that are going on, both for yourself and people who are close in. But like I said, this is collective circuitry. So it's really about everybody and how we're relating to the collective. And we really need this, right? Because there's a lot of strife in the collective, and it's our opportunity to choose not to go down those, downward spiraling rabbit holes where we polarize and we judge and we think that the way to get what we want is to fight other people and to dominate them. Which unfortunately is too commonly the way that many of us were taught to get what we want in life, right? But instead to have compassion, to recognize that we are all in this together, right? We're all in this together. And if we're in this together, we can have a sense of tenderness, if you will, for the challenges of other people. And we can also have a sense of tenderness for our own challenges. Like having compassion for yourself is also super important because it's hard actually to have really true compassion for other people if you're not giving it to yourself first. So take a look at that. Because we also have the gate 10, which is being lit up by the earth. We're going to talk about that in a second, which is about self-love. So we've got a theme going on here about appreciation, acknowledgement, compassion, love, and so on. So diving into that gate 15, which we're shining out into the world, the question I would pose for you is, how can you express more compassion to the people in your life, to situations in your life? How can you transmute places where you may have been judgmental or angry or resentful? And I'm not saying that you didn't maybe have a reason why you feel that way. I'm not saying that. However, our opportunity in our spiritual growth path, in the world today, our evolutionary journey is for us to evolve out of that kind of polarization a kind of desire to dominate and to get to feel more safe and more secure by being able to squelch things that we don't feel are in alignment with us. So it is more about being able to expand and being able to hold each other with some more tenderness, recognizing we don't really know what other people's lives are like. We don't really know what choices they've made. We don't really know the struggles that they've had or the things they've had to overcome. And so just having compassion for them. Now, the thing about compassion is it doesn't mean that you're saying, oh, everything is okay. Like everything is equally good in the world. It doesn't mean that. What it means is that there is a desire for understanding and for connection and a recognition but for the grace of God, there go I, right? Just remembering that any one of us can have an illness, we can have an injury, we can have an abusive person in our life, we can have, detrimental work situations. I mean, any one of us can have things like that. So we want to build more compassion so that we don't go into this, well, they should just get over that, or, they should just heal that. Why are they still feeling that way? Just being able to be with each other with this loving heart. So the sun in the 15 is resting on the earth in the gate 10. The gate 10 is the gate of self-love. And it is not well inhabited by most of us. It's also known as the blame gate. And the reason that happens is that we are often taught to criticize ourselves, judge ourselves, right? Beating up on ourselves, blaming ourselves for not being smart enough, not being pretty enough, not being successful enough, not having enough money, not having the right body, not living in the right place, whatever. Right? It's just, we marshal all of this, evidence that shows that we are worthy to be blamed and criticized and downtrodden and all of that. We need to stop that. We need to just stop it. Because when we do that, then we tend to blame other people. It becomes very, very painful to be feeling that way. So then what we do is we blame other people, which is not great, and then we also attract blame because we're in a blame state. We're in the blame game, if you will. The way out of this is to do something loving for yourself. That's what I always say. If you find yourself in a really self-critical place, or if you find that you're tending to want to, project onto other people and blame them and make them wrong, I'm not saying that other people don't have things that you wish they hadn't done, or they didn't do things you wish they had done. I'm not saying that, but it is about attitude and energy. Right? So we want to be able to come back inside the self and really build this sense of self-love, self-appreciation, have some self-care. While all the time, really, but especially while it's being lit up by the earth is saying, look, I'm here to support you. Can you ground yourself in a deeper sense of love for yourself? This is so healing. It's such a balm. And the earth is giving us a great opportunity here during this transit. Now, you can imagine how having the sun in the 15 and the earth in the 10, right, how they can work together. They're right next to each other on the G center there. And so they both have that love energy. And it's also about identity, because the G center is the center for identity as well and direction in life. So if we're in a really negative state, either with, lacking compassion and being in a state of judgment, or doing that with ourselves, like with others or with ourselves, then we're inhibiting our own identity, right? We're undermining our own identity because we're creating an identity that is really in a negative frame of mind, a negative perspective, a downward spiral, right? That blame that I was talking about a second ago. So we want to, if we're in that downward spiral, right, we want to turn it around and come back up. And you always have the opportunity of that. You're never really stuck. But the quality of the energies that we hold around the G center are super important, because there's so much power in our hearts. right? It's not a motor in the human design system, but we all know how powerful our hearts are, what a huge part of our existence, right, is. And also we know that the magnetic field of the heart is actually 500 times stronger than the magnetic field of the brain, right? That the energy field of the heart is much, much stronger. So we want it to really be in the highest possible frequency that we can generate. Then when you look at this next image, you can see that there's this complex wiring that's going on over here during this transit. I do want to say that the gate 34, which is on the sacral, is being lit up by the moon. So it's only there for a few hours. So we're really not going to pay attention to that. But what we are going to look at is we're going to look at the one from the gate 10 to the throat, the 1020, which is known as the channel of awakening or the channel of self-assurance, which would be awesome if we experienced it that way. However, if we're in the blame game, we're not going to be able to experience the channel that way. We do really want this whole channel to be in its highest frequency because this channel is also colloquially known as the verbal gunslinger. Which can happen if we're stuck in the blame game, right? Whether if we're blaming ourselves or if we're blaming each other, you can imagine how some not so friendly things would be popping out of your mouth, right? And that can make it into that verbal gunslinger. So we want to have this high frequency of the gate 10 so that we're expressing ourselves from that place of appreciation, of love, of compassion, right? All these different qualities that we have on the G center, and that compassion is already being lit up by the sun here. So we want to be able to calibrate this particular channel at a high frequency, because when we do, it does cause a sense of awakening. We're awakening into a recognition of our own divinity. Because we are an expression of that creative intelligence of the universe. We're not separate from it. We're actually an expression of it. And when we can get that and we can awaken to our own divinity, our lives can change dramatically. It's a wonderful time to be working with that while Jupiter is lighting up this gate 20, because Jupiter also expands things, right? So ideally, Jupiter is going to be expanding our greater sense of self-love, our greater ability to express appreciation for ourselves, rather than expanding our verbal gunslinger-ish. So make sure to watch out for that one. And this is going to come to a crescendo during the summer solstice, which is also the full moon, which is happening on June 20th or the 21st, depending on where you are in the world. Because this is an apex of energy, as I've been talking about the last few weeks, right? Where we have the longest day or the longest night, depending on where you are in the world. And so we're like building to this apex, just the way the full moon is building to the full moon. Right. And then we're going to hit that peak, and then the moon will start waning, and we'll be on the other side of the solstice. So either the days will start getting shorter or the days will start getting longer, depending on where you are. And we want to be able to utilize, this is one of the high holy days in the Celtic earth-based spirituality that is my heritage. And there's lots of people who belong to or have their ancestry be among people who are really based in earth-based spirituality. Virtually all indigenous cultures around the world, are part of earth-based spirituality, where we're recognizing these really big changes in the living world. So to celebrate this, we're going to do a celebration and an activation on the 20th at noon Pacific time. This is going to be live streamed on YouTube. And I really hope that you're going to join us. We're going to really celebrate the nurturing energy of the sun, whether that's something that it's at its apex or it's something that you're honoring that it's coming back if you're in the southern hemisphere. But just really honoring the nourishing energy of that of the sun, which is our own star, and then also the illumination that can come to us during a full moon. So we've got a lot of really potent energy going there. So I hope that you'll come and join us on the live stream on the 20th, and that you'll also take some time around these days for you to be looking at, okay, what have I been growing? What am I at the apex of? What have I gotten to the point? It could also be something you're like, I've had enough of that and I need to taper off of it as well, right? So if there's a habit that you're like, I've been doing a lot of that, I need to taper off of that, right? It can be that kind of thing as well. That full moon is illuminating some of the things that we might want to start winding down. So this is a really good time for meditation, for breath work, for doing kriyas, which we'll do an accessible but potent kriya together during the live stream, for you to do writing or painting or drawing, things that allow you to tap into your own inner wisdom and that help you to get guidance really from that deep, true place inside yourself rather than from outside sources. You can find the link to the live stream, of course, down below, and we'll put it here at the end of the video, and I hope to see you there. All right, many blessings. Much love. Bye for now.